Jerome Powell, the second most powerful man in the world. Jerome Powell is the second most powerful man in the US after President Joe Biden. But what is he, his position, what he does, and how he is the second most powerful and influential man after the US President Joe Biden? Watch the complete video to find the answers. Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video, we will unfold the life of Jerome Powell, his past, present, and future. Before we begin, make sure to like and subscribe to my channel. Jerome Hayden J. Powell has served as America's 16th Chair of Federal Reserves since 2018. He is an investment banker and an American attorney. Let's look at the early life of Powell. Jerome Hayden J. Powell was born on the 4th of February 1953 in Washington, D.C. He was one of 6 children of Patricia and Jerome Powell. His father was a lawyer in private practice, while his mother was a homemaker. But his grandfather was the dean of Columbus School of Law at the Catholic University of America. Having a family related to law and order, he developed a liking for politics and decided to get a bachelor's in arts and politics from Princeton University in 1975. He also served as a legislative assistant to Richard Schweiker, a Pennsylvania senator. He completed his Juris Doctor degree from Georgetown University Law Center in 1979. Powell relocated to New York City in 1979 to work as a clerk for Judge Ellsworth Van Graffeland of the United States Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit. Powell worked as a lawyer at Davis Polk and Wardwell from 1981 to 1983 and at Werbel and McMillan from 1983 to 1984. From 1984 to 1990, he worked an investment bank, Dillon Read & Co., where he specialized in financing, merchant banking, and mergers and acquisitions, eventually rising to the position of vice president. He then served in the United States Department of Treasury from 1990 to 1993. George W. Bush then nominated him as the Under Secretary of the Treasury of Domestic Finance. Powell spearheaded the investigation and sanctioning of Salomon Brothers during his term of office at the Treasury after one of its traders submitted false bids for a U.S. Treasury security. Powell was also involved in the negotiations that resulted in Warren Buffett being appointed chairman of Salomon. Powell joined Bankers Trust as a managing director in 1993. He left the bank in 1995 after several wealth-generating customers realized the downside risk of significant losses. He later returned to Dillon Read & Co. Powell was a partner at the Carlyle Group from 1997 to 2005, where he founded and led the industrial group within the Carlyle U.S. Buyout Fund. Powell founded Severn Capital Partners after leaving Carlyle, a private investment firm focused on specialty finance and opportunistic investments in the industrial sector. Powell joined the Global Environment Fund, private equity and venture capital firm that invests in sustainable energy, as a managing partner in 2008. During the 2011 debt ceiling crisis, he worked on getting Congress to raise the United States debt ceiling as a think tank in Washington, D.C. Powell discussed the effects of a default or a delay in raising the debt ceiling on the economy and interest rates. He was paid $1 per year to work. In December 2011, he was nominated by then-President Barack Obama for the Federal Reserve Board of Governors. Powell's nomination marked the first time since 1988 that a president nominated a member of the opposition party for such a position. On May 25, 2012, he was sworn in to fill the unexpired term of Frederick Mishkin, who resigned. He was nominated for a second term in January 2014, and the United States Senate confirmed him in June 2014 for a 14-year term, ending January 31, 2028. On November 2, 2017, President Donald Trump nominated Powell as the Federal Reserve's chair, succeeding Janet Yellen at the helm. The Fed chair has 3 primary responsibilities: setting monetary policy, interest rates, overseeing bank regulation, and serving as the institution's public face. Powell never cast a dissenting vote during his tenure at the Fed, preferring to express his concerns at the decision-making table. One of Powell's first actions was to keep raising U.S. interest rates in response to the U.S. economy's growing strength. However, he also stated that the Federal would reduce its asset portfolio from $1.5 trillion to $2.5 to $3 trillion over 4 years, a process known as quantitative tightening. A central bank implements quantitative tightening by selling financial assets on its balance sheet into financial markets, lowering asset prices and rising interest rates. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell is most likely the most powerful person in crypto, but unfortunately, he despises it. In response to the coronavirus crisis, Powell conducted the largest monetary experiment in history, including expanding the supply of US dollars, nearly doubling the Fed's balance sheet and allowing the economy to run hot amid inflation fears. There is debate about whether the easy money policy caused the run-up in asset valuations that crypto experienced this year. But one thing is sure, during this period of unprecedented monetary tinkering, more people have bought into the idea of Bitcoin as an inflation hedge. After some opposition, Jerome Powell was nominated as the head of the Central Bank of America. This makes him the second most powerful person after president. After leading the Central Bank of America, Powell decides to launch a central bank currency. The reason is that Powell thinks new forms of digital money, such as cryptocurrencies and stablecoins, present risks to the youth. Our existing regulatory frameworks were not built with a digital world in mind, he said. Stablecoins, central bank digital currencies, and digital finance more generally will require exchanges to existing laws and regulation or even entirely new rules and frameworks. If you are not into cryptocurrencies or stablecoins, let me explain it to you. Stablecoins are a type of cryptocurrency typically linked to the US dollar or a commodity like gold. Central bank digital currencies are government-issued digital forms of dollars or other currencies. The Fed is investigating digital dollars but has not yet decided whether to issue them. In January, it published a study on stablecoins. According to Powell, Americans who bought stablecoins and cryptocurrencies may not fully understand the extent of their potential losses, or that these investments generally lack the government protections that accompany many of the traditional financial instruments and services that they're used to. One concern with stablecoins is that while many promise to keep their value constant at $1, it is not always clear whether stablecoin issuers have enough cash to redeem each stablecoin they issue for $1. Another reason Powell does not support crypto is that they support illicit activity like money laundering. But, as he says, we need to prevent this so that the innovations that do survive and do attract broad adoption are those that provide value over time for legal uses. Even though many countries' central banks have shifted to digital currency, this makes the US fall back in the lead of being a digital state. Finally, the Fed Reserve decided that a digital currency could be issued by the United States that could be used to protect efficient and low-cost transactions, particularly for cross-border funds, transfers, and payments, and to foster greater access to the financial system with fewer of the risks posed by private sector administered digital assets like Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. While Americans have long held money primarily in digital form, for example in bank accounts, payment apps, or through online transactions, the Federal Reserve says, a CBDC would differ from existing digital money available to the general public because a CBDC would be a liability of the Federal Reserve, not a commercial bank. A CBDC would be the safest digital asset available to the general public with no associated credit or liquidity risk, because it would be a Federal Reserve liability. Powell's net worth is between $19.7 million and $55 million in his most recent financial disclosure from June. Powell's friends and former colleagues describe him as annoyingly normal. He lives in Chevy Chase, Maryland, and frequently rides his bike the 8 miles to the Fed. He doesn't drink much, enjoys golf and playing the guitar, and has an unusual ability to repeat people's sentences backward to them, which former colleagues say is a reminder of his intelligence and how attentively he listens. Powell's degrees from Princeton and Georgetown University Law School, as well as his many connections in politics and business, make many people comfortable with him taking over as president. In my experience, the best outcomes are reached when opposing views are clearly and strongly presented before decisions are made, Powell said at a speech in West Virginia in March. That's all for today. We'll be back with more exciting stuff soon, so stay tuned and subscribe to our channel. Press the bell icon to ensure you are notified about the latest videos.